and the spread and all that exposure that we are getting, and all this is easily accessible, easy accessibility, and associated with irresponsibility. Then we have the premarital relations, which are common. We talk about premarital relations, and it is not something abnormal or it's not a taboo anymore because immorality has been normalized so much that we find some of these things to be normal. The other thing is LGBTQ, we mentioned where the identity confusion and identity crisis comes in. That's an influence and also peer pressure. You know, peer pressure comes in a lot of ways. We don't, and sometimes you don't really realize that it is peer pressure that has made you do something. You think, no, this is just me. No one has pressured me. No one has told me to do this. No one has coerced me into doing something. But it's actually the peer pressure that has put you in that situation. The other challenge we are facing today is drug abuse. So there's lots of drugs. There's cannabis, there's alcohol. Who knows what cannabis is? So there's Mira, there's Bangi, there's Shisha, and there are prescription drugs that are being misused to the level that some of these drugs have been discontinued from the market. And patients are not able to access them because of the drug misuse and also use of hard drugs. We all know which drugs these are. So the underlying causes of some of these challenges today is one of them, and the biggest one is peer pressure. So you're just trying to fit in with your friend circle. So that's where the company comes in. You know, the Prophet ﷺ has said that be in company that will influence you positively. If you sit with the blacksmith, you will smell of smoke. If you spend a day with the blacksmith ni mtu ambaye you know your deal na vyuma, and they always have fire and kuni in their place because they have to hit the metal and they're always burning. So you leave that place smelling of smoke and firewood. You'll just be sitting with that person. You're not a blacksmith. Utakuwa umeenda pale upiga story tu, but you will end up come out from that day, from that place. You go home in the evening, or when you're going home on the road, guys will ask, "Hey, umeka mahali kuna kuni?" And they'll ask you, "Are you ampishi?" Or because you're smelling of smoke, and you've not done anything. You've just sat there in their presence. As the opposite, when you sit in a perfume shop or you sit with someone that's selling perfume, even if you'll not be handling those perfumes, or maybe you'll be touching, that effect, when you leave that place, you will be smelling good. That is the effect of peer pressure. That peer pressure does not mean someone held your hand and told you to do this and this. That is not peer pressure. So we are all humans. We were all created with a fitra. We were all created with a brain. We were all created intelligent, whereby you are able to choose what is right and what is wrong. So peer pressure and just fitting in, I want to look cool. You're with your friends, a guy is there, they're smoking shisha or they're chewing, and you are there and you feel, hey, me isipochonga na hawa, watu waniona sijui vipi. So that is again fitting in. They did not ask you to chew, they did not ask you to smoke, but you chose to. So that is peer pressure. Peer pressure is in many ways. The other thing that falls under peer pressure is they are doing their thing and then they offer you. You will say no at first, you will say no the second time, but the third time you will try, let me just try. There is no harm. So that is why we are supposed to be careful with the people we hang around with, the people you sit with, and the activities they are doing really affect us. The other challenge, that the other cause that why we're having these challenges is social media and normalization of such things, and the Western influence. The West is trying a lot to corrupt the mujtama, to corrupt the youth in many ways. Be it simple advertisements, a car advertisement, for example. When you're advertising a car, you're just advertising the car. You're supposed to show the car. But people will not pay attention to that car unless there is a lady who is who is exposed. Maybe she's just walking around the car, or she's standing next to the car. So your eye, you'll be caught looking at that lady in the name of an advertisement of a car. That is the Western influence. Normalization of immorality. Immorality has been normalized in such a way that there are some things when you talk about being immoral, you look like an outcast. For example, the mingling of men and women. People these days would call it radical. Say, huyu bana amezidi sana. We are just seated and talking because of the normalization. Do you know that in the 1800s, in the 18th century, even in the West, the people who call themselves the most civilized had segregations in their gatherings. The women at that time used to wear clothes that are fully covering because of the hayat that there was. And when they wanted to now fight Islam, this is in the history. This is part of. There's a book called. Um, there's a book that is called The Confessions of a British Spy by Edward Hemfer. Have we heard of? Had we heard of Edward Hemfer? Who Edward Hemfer was? This is a book. It's there. You can also download it. You can Google it and look into it. This is when the British Empire was trying to conquer the world. And now the current known Saudi Empire was not Saudi Arabia. It was Hijaz. It was generally known as Hijaz. And that's when the Ottoman Empire was the empire that was leading at the Arabian Peninsula. Most of Europe was under the Ottoman Empire, and part of the East was under the Ottoman Empire. And Islam was the reigning empire then. So the Westerners, America is just a country that has come up the other day. But the powers back then were the Spanish and the British. So the British wanted to rule the world. They wanted to conquer. So they tried all their ways. There was a Crusaders' War and all those things. This is part of history. So they said that Muslims, we cannot fight them. We're trying to fight them. Lakini, hawa jamaa, they are glad to die in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because mtu anajua mimi nitakufa shahid nikifa vitani. And nitakwenda peponi. I have a guarantee of going to Jannah. So they found ways and ways. They tried to study how will we break Islam? How will we break these people? And they sent two people. One of them was Edward Hemfer, and another one, I've forgotten his name. So Edward Hemfer is the author of that book. He was part of the spies. He was a spy sent. So after the Crusaders' War happened and they lost, so before the Crusaders' War, when they tried to fight Islam and they lost some of the wars, and then now, before Edward Hemfer, they sent in some spies as Muslims. So what happened is, those spies, the Edward Hemfers and the likes, were sent to Medina. They were sent to Egypt first to learn the religion. So to infiltrate Muslims, they learned Islam more than the Muslims. They learned Quran, they learned the Arabic language, they learned the Hadith, Tafsir, and everything. Fiqh, Sirah, and everything. They would speak like great scholars. Then they were just spies and reporters. They would go back to the British Empire and tell them that, what is holding Muslims is their faith. Muslims know that when you die, you go to heaven and you'll get Hurul Ain and all that. So why don't we do the same thing with our people? That's when now the Crusaders came in. So now they adopted the same mentality for the Christians, the Catholics, and they went and preached the same. And they told them, Mukifa, you'll get great reward, you'll go to paradise and all that. So wakawatia tamaa. And now a lot of people enrolled into the armies. Then they had the Crusaders' War. They came fighting in the name of religion, their religion. That's when the Crusaders' War happened and the Muslims lost in the Second Crusaders' War. Until the Red Sea was red because of the way Muslims were slaughtered. Because now they had something to fight for. They were told that Mukifa, mtaenda peponi, you'll be given this and that and that. So they came with more energy That's why the Red Sea is called the Red Sea. Because Muslims were slaughtered, they were literally slaughtered like chickens until the Red Sea turned red because of the blood of Muslims. They took all the books, all the Islamic literature. A lot of books were also discarded into the sea, and a lot of Islamic literature was lost. This is not the forum talking about knowledge. You know, Islam is the pioneer of a lot of fields of knowledge, looking at astronomy, looking at mathematics, looking at algebra, medicine, surgery, piloting, navigation, astronomy. All the pioneers of all these fields of study are Muslims. So most of these books were destroyed, and the few that survived, they changed the names. So, when Edward Hemfer, so they won the Crusaders' War, and they destroyed Islamic literature. A lot of Muslims were killed, and now they went back and they saw that the Muslims are still strong. There's something that's keeping them going. So again, now Edward Hemfer and his colleague were sent to Medina. And they lived among the Muslims. They were at such a level that they would even give lectures inside the Prophet's mosque in Medina. So they studied the religion. Later on, Edward Hemfer, some say that he converted to Islam. Some say that he spilled the beans, wrote that book, and let everyone know what the British Empire were after. So they found that the only way to defeat the Muslims is to remove the love of their Prophet ﷺ from their hearts. Number two, bring immorality into their religion, into their people, into their youth, and pull them away from the religion. So they studied. These three main things were their target, and they succeeded. They only succeeded after that. Number one was immorality. Number two was bringing in. So immorality was brought in. The love of the Prophet ﷺ and the respect for the Prophet ﷺ was removed from the heart of Muslims, and wakatiwa tamaya mali. That is a story for another day. But these are some of the challenges that we face as Muslim youth. So we were talking about the challenges that we face. So this was just part of. By the way, I just remembered the story of the Edward Hemfer and the Crusaders' War. The other challenge we are facing today is because of lack of mentorship and weak parental communication, stress, unemployment, and hopelessness. Looking at lack of mentorship, this is a very good forum. Thanks to Brother Faisal and Sheikh Mahmoud Mustafa. Thanks to Helping Hands and the Green Dome Foundation. This is a very noble thing. I think this would be something that should be done very more frequently. And also other organizations should take up this. So mentorship programs are basically just interactive forums where you interact with seniors, you look up, you meet professionals. In medicine, we have a mentorship program whereby there is one-on-one mentorship. A senior adopts a junior, or a doctor will adopt a first year or a second year and take them through the entire, uni life, guide them of what is required of them, how to uphold themselves, and just be there for them when they need someone to talk to. So mentorship programs are very important. Our brothers on the other side are really, into these mentorship programs. So I don't know if you've heard of, I'm sure you have them in your schools and forums. So this is something that it needs to start off early, at an earlier age, so that you have someone to depend on, someone who can guide you through the decisions you want to make in life. Somewhere along the line where you are lost, you have someone to get help from. Also, the other thing is we do not really blame the parents, but it is because of the westernization and the Western influence that has made the parents so busy that they don't have time for their children. They don't have time for us. Because a father would leave for work in the early morning and the child is waking up for school, both of them maybe they will not meet. The child will go to school before the father goes, The child will come from school before the father comes. They go to bed and then the father comes. So there is that interaction which is limited. This is what the Western people want. The so-called integrated schools. I'm very sorry. I'm against integrated schools. Integrated schools were brought about by the Westerners to kill off the one-on-one Islamic religion that is passed by sheikh to the student. In Islam, the religion is supposed to be passed from a sheikh. There is a sanad, there is a chain. A sanad is not only for the hadith. There should be a sanad for education. So you should know where you've gotten your knowledge from. Your sheikh has gotten a knowledge from his sheikh, who has gained the knowledge from his sheikh up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the rightful knowledge. But what integrated school has done, you do not learn fiqh in your schools. They will just teach you the basics, and the parent will think my child is learning Islam at school. But what you are learning is basically just, you are just doing hifth and just the basic, not even the fundamentals. Are you even taught arkanul salah and arkanul wudu in school? No, you aren't. You've just been told that before praying you have to do wudu, wash your hands, wash your face. You had a session on wudu in the morning. So this is what is happening. So there's a weak parental communication. There's stress, and stress comes in a lot of ways. For some of us who are still in school, stress comes in form of exams. Stress comes in form of the environment back at school, how your teachers treat you, how your seniors treat you. And unemployment is now for the people who have finished college and who have finished school and are looking for jobs. And also hopelessness. You do not know where to go. You don't have a mentor in life. You're not very close to your parents. So you don't know whom to go to and where to run to. So before we move on, I would just throw it down to as we can have a discussion. What do you think, as the youth in this room, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing youth of your age?
Okay, for me, I think the biggest challenge ni kwenye social media. Social media okay, it's good on one hand, but on another point, it may make us youth to feel like our life should depend on social media. Because tukiangalia kwenye sexual disorientation, tunapata pornography. Many of us tunakuta pornography kwa social medias. And tukiangalia the drug abuse, for instance, mambo ya alcohol, shisha and all that, through social media ndo unakuta mtu ana learn how to use shisha, alcohol na vitu vingine na hizo hard drugs kama cocaine and all that. So pia tukiangalia kwenye underlying causes hapo kwenye peer pressure. For instance, unaona your friend, or maybe it's not your friend, but umeona tu mtu kwa social media ni age mate wako ana drive. Wewe home kwenu maybe hamna huo uwezo kufanya wewe udrive a big cars, and you feel like mbona huyu ni age mate wangu na ana drive, mbona nisifanye kitu yenye inanisaidia na mimi niweze kudrive. So unakuta for ladies tunajiingiza kwenye mambo ya kujiuza so that ufit kwa hiyo gap ya wenzako mbona wanafanya wewe hufanyi. Una feel like maybe expose my body because maybe mtu fulani ana expose body yake na inamfanya apate pesa, mbona mimi sifanyi hivyo. So for me I think social media imekuwa the biggest challenge.
Thank you very much. That's true. Social media sasa hivi venye imefanywa, social media sasa hivi msee anaona ni normal. Hata ukijiona ukiulizwa mazee uko Instagram, useme hapana, and people will look at you. Mazee uko Instagram ni aje? So the normalization of social media is the biggest problem. Thank you very much. Sitochukulia social media ni kama something important. Ni kama kila msee anafaa kuwa Snapchat. So but we forget that hiyo social media ni venye utaitumia. But these days hata hiyo social media is very dangerous because like venye amesema, you get unsolicited posts, something you have not searched for, something that haujaulizia, as in you've not even searched, or you're not even looking into it, or you're not even following. It has been recommended into your feed somehow, and there's some pornography there, and there's some substance abuse that's there. There are people flossing what they are flossing, they're showing off big things. So social media, yes, is a big challenge. And as youth, tunafaa tujue venye tutaweza kujimanage on those social media apps. Kama tunaweza avoid, ni better.
Social media, yes, ni big challenge, but according to me naona ni the parental involvement. Kama a parent haezi, it's through that parent ndo as child atajua how to use the social media. Is it in a good way or a bad way? It's through that parent ndo that child atajua to follow good friends and not bad friends. But once the parent has no time na mtoto wake, ndo utapata mtoto anafuatana na watu wa bangi, mzazi ajui. So your parental involvement ndo inaleta everything, where peer pressure, how they use the social media and everything. Your identity confusion, naona mtoto wako anaanza ushoga for example. But sasa you don't have time. If you have time uta notice and you try to correct, but kama hauna time with it, mtoto ataanza tu pole, at the end unajua ni amechange teams tayari hivyo.
Story ya kuchange teams. Unatoka Man U unaenda Arsenal. Yeah, so where the brother Faisal is not around, Akija, we need to raise this. As much as we are having mentorship program for the youth, we need to have such forums for the parents, for the adults. Ambao they are not there, the parents are not there for the children. Mtu ako busy. Ni job tu, asubuhi akitoka ameenda job, ama jioni akikaa mwingine, they go out with their friends. They have to spend time with the families, understand the family setting, so that you understand each other and have a better, control over the family.
All right, so to add on his point, right? So parental communication is obviously a problem, and it's not an excuse for them to say, "Oh, we're working," or "We don't have time for you." That's not an excuse. That's one of the rights that we reserve, right? And then also for us, since we're teens, a lot of us tend to bottle up what we think sometimes when we don't get someone to communicate to, or even a friend, or even an elder, any person. So you end up isolating yourself. And when you isolate yourself and you bottle up those feelings that you feel, eventually they will burst out. And when they burst out, then it becomes fatal in a way, right? You may even need medication, or you may even tend to suicide, right? So sometimes anybody you can open up to about whatever you're feeling that you don't talk to anyone else would be really beneficial.
That's a very important point. I think Brother Faisal and Sheikh Mahmoud are back. We're having a discussion around some of the challenges that are facing the youth. And I asked a question: what are some of the challenges that you're facing? So the question about social media came up. And these days we have a lot of unsolicited content on social media, something you have not searched for, but it pops up on your social media. Even the ads that we see on social media lead you to sites that are meant to mislead you and misguide you. The other thing that was raised in this forum is the parents not being there for the children. Like our brother rightfully said here, that for the teens they need attention, they need that care, they need the parents to be there for them, because the emotions will bottle up. So once they bottle up, you don't know how to release them or where to release those emotions. You end up losing track of the right path, of what is right and wrong, because now you're not thinking with your brain, you're thinking out of emotions, but out of emotions that are already messed up. So as much as we are doing forums for the youth empowerment, I think we should hold a forum for the parents, because as parents have also failed the children. The parents are not there for the children. It was raised very nicely here. In the morning, the father would come out, go to work, and the child is going to school. The child comes back in the evening, they have madrasa or they have their homework, and the father would come late in the evening, the child is asleep. So they don't have that time to interact, that time to open up. So that creates a distance between the parent and the child. Now, that distance is where everything happens because the child withdraws themselves. The father does not know how to communicate, or the mother does not know how to approach that child or how to communicate with that child. And both of them are at two different wavelengths, and every one of them, the parents will say, mtoto wangu hasikii, amekuwa mjeuri, and the child on this other side does not have that closeness to approach that parent and release their emotions and talk to them. Yeah, so that is one of the challenges that we are facing. So this was the question I asked now. There. What do you think is the biggest challenge?
Okay, in my opinion, I think that everything that has been mentioned, it all comes to lack of awareness. Because even as our parents, it's also their first time living. So the way they were raised, they think that's the best way to raise us as well, right? So they're not aware of what's going on. So for this reason, just like you said, trying to put up forums and trying to bringing in programs from childhood, where everything stems from childhood, according to psychology. So when you try to integrate these things, maybe in the mosque, and try and put these kids from the beginning in support groups from different ages going up, and also trying to make the parents aware of what's going on, it's gonna help. Because remember when Corona happened, many people didn't get Corona because we were able to prevent ourselves from getting it because we already saw it was a challenge. So trying to prevent it, I think it's a very key thing. So maybe starting up with support programs for kids, parents, and everything, as it you get.
Thank you very much. I think Sheikh Mahmoud is in the forum and is a very proactive leader, mashallah, we have. One of the challenges, like you rightfully said, is the awareness. We don't have, our parents are not aware of what is happening. So as the times are changing, that old design of parenting does not work anymore. They have to evolve with the new times. They have to be closer to us. They have to be closer to us, the youth, so that we can open up in our ways. We cannot work with their ways. They have to work with our ways. And this is very important. Thank you very much. The leaders are here. For the mashayikh, I think this is not the time anymore to dwell on, Sheikh Mahmoud, for the mashayikh, this is not the time anymore to dwell on controversial issues, bid'ah, this and that. No, this is the time on how we can bring the parents closer to the children so that we avoid some of these. How parenting can evolve to the newer generation so that the parents are closer to the children and there is a better communication between, because there's a big communication gap. That is where all these problems are coming in. I think we've taken a lot of time on that. Like I said, this is an interactive session. We're not here to lecture. So we've
regarding the social media, on Wednesday we'll be having a team specializing with the media, with the social media, who will guide us on how we can use our platforms. Because whatever is happening at the moment, inshallah, we have you guys
some of this, what is the perspective of Islam and sexuality? This is one thing that a lot of Muslims and a lot of our people try to avoid. This is one topic everyone shies away from. So it is time that we talk about it, and we talk about it in a way that will help us, because we really need help, especially with the orientation part. So what does Islam say about sexuality? Like we said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Najm, وَأَنَّهُ خَلَقَ الزَّوْجَيْنِ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. And that it is He who has created, humans in two mates, the male and the female. Anything in between that is not normal, is a condition. Even medically, it's a condition. And in Surah Al-Dhariyat, He says, وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. We have created you in pairs. So the pair is either male or female. There's nothing in between. So these things we are seeing on about the LGBTQ, they are trying to shove down our throats, is something immoral. Because they don't have any other way to fight us, they are trying to now fight us with immorality. And also looking at the desires, humans were created with a fitra. So you're either male or a female. You reach a certain age and you want to explore. It is only natural. It is only human. It is the nature of a human. It is how you evolve and how you grow up. But now, desire is natural. But now, channeling it through the halal means. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put halal means of channeling those desires that we have. And also look at Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. When Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam was approached by the wife of Al-Aziz, the leader of Masr, what did he say? What happened? وراودته التي هو في بيتها عن نفسه وخلقت الأبواب وقالت هيت لك قال معاذ الله. What did Nabi Allah Yusuf alayhi salam say? And it was him who was invited. Leo wewe mwanamume uambiwe hivyo. And you have an opportunity ufungue kwenye room. Huh? Will you back down? You have to. That is where you be called a man. That is a man. A man is not someone who will take the opportunity. Was a chance here. Trupas. No, that is not being a man. A man is when the opportunity arises, he says no. And even for the ladies, it goes both ways. When you are cornered, or these days ladies are cornering, it goes both ways. So look at the lessons we learn from the life of Nabi Allah Yusuf alayhi salam. How did he react? What did he do? He ran away. He tried to run. He tried to escape. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came to his rescue. We know the whole story. This is not the forum to discuss it, but it is just a way of reminding ourselves that these are things that have happened to people before us. Things that have happened to prophets. So, and why they happen to prophets? They happen to them so that it is a lesson to us, the ummah that come in later. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. So again, zina, he says, do not come near zina. Indeed, it is a very immoral thing. It is an immorality and is an evil and is evil as a way. So again, we look at the two things. You look at la taqrabu zina and you look at pornography and LGBTQ. This is the same thing. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala back then he didn't say wala tazinu. He did not say don't do zina. He said wala taqrabu zina. Why? Because the things that take you close to zina will lead you to doing it. Pornography, social media. Wala taqrabu comes. Social media comes here. Social media comes down there. Wala taqrabu. Because on the social media, it always starts with an emoji these days. Zamani ilikuwa comment. Ndio, siku hizi ni emoji. You throw in an emoji, she throws in an emoji. You throw in a meme, say we are in a relationship. Double R, double L. You send a reel. So these are all ways that will only corrupt that. Will only corrupt that relationship that is supposed to be a pure relationship. So, like we said, the normalization of social media, we take it so normal, we take it so for granted that we do not see it as a wrong. So again, coming closer to zina is by social media. Drug abuse, you will use drugs, you're in a group, you've gotten high, you don't know what you're doing, you're not thinking straight. That will lead you to do things that are not supposed to be done. For the Islamic perspective, it's clearly mentioned in the Quran that humans were created as male or female. It also says that do not come near zina. Pornography and LGBTQ is also a way that has something that has been normalized. It is part wala taqrabu. That is now that brings you close to zina. So this is one of the biggest fitna of our time, especially LGBTQ this is normal. Actually, it is even normal. In some of these social media, they don't even have filters anymore for such things. You get them unsolicited without even searching. It is there for you. And Islam has clarified it. You know, it is not point of hatred. It's not yeah, Muslim, you are radical. No, this is the basic fundamental principle of Islam. What is the Islamic perspective on drugs and intoxication? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه لعلكم تفلحون, so that you are successful. O you who believe, intoxicants, gambling, stone altars, divine arrows and abominations are abominations of shaitan's work, so avoid them so that you are successful. The two most important things that these days, two things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in this verse are so normal these days that even people think that when you talk about them, they say, hii ni mambo ya kawaida. The first two things that Allah has mentioned, intoxication and gambling. Betting. People are betting like it's normal. You know, people think betting and forex. Forex is also part of gambling because you're putting up your money somewhere and you do not know where it will come back. It will double or triple or you'll go into a loss. So these are some of the things. And it is clear in the Quran, there is no two ways about it. Gambling, intoxicants. We've mentioned the intoxicants. There's alcohol, there's miraa, there's bangi, there's vape, there's shisha, and there's all things. They cause more harm than good. And like the Prophet ﷺ said in his hadith that kullu muskirin khamrun wa kullu muskirin haram. Anything that intoxicates is haram. And intoxicate, there's another there's another verse that says وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Do not put yourselves into tahluka, kujangamiza. What's the English word for that? Self-destruction. Do not put yourself into self-destruction. So some of these things, as a doctor, vape too, and cigar too, it's just a cigarette. It's not haram, I'm not getting intoxicated, but it is harming you. As a urologist, we are seeing 20-year-olds presenting with bladder cancer. This is a cancer that we used to see 40 and 50-year-olds. Currently, today I'm from theater in the morning from operating on someone, a 20-year-old boy who was diagnosed with bladder cancer at the age of 18. That's how serious this thing. We are taking them for granted. It's these little things that we see, but you don't know the long-term effects. That is why they fall into the category of haram, because they are doing more harm to you than good. What are the consequences of using these things? Starehe tu. But in the long run, starehe inakupeleka wapi? We have psychiatrists in the room. We have drug-induced psychosis. I've seen patients. As a urologist, we are all adults in this room. This year, I saw a patient that was intoxicated. He cut off his manhood. Why? Alikuwa afikiri vizuri, zimemtuma. Jamaa alikuwa amepiga bangi, amepiga ninio, amechanganya vitu, mogokaa, sijui nini zikamtuma. Chopped it off. Yeah. I personally managed that patient earlier this year. So, mental health, because he was psycho. Alikuwa hafikiri tena vizuri. The long-term effects, one of the, I think it's even turning into an epidemic. Drug-induced psychosis is something that we need to be talking about even in the mosques, not only in such forums. And also, you stop thinking straight. This thing breaks families. Between this is the youth forum, so I will not talk about marriages, but yes, it's breaking down marriages for the youth. A father who is abusing drugs does not have time for the child. or the child who has been introduced to drugs either by seeing his father doing that or his parents doing that, now it breaks the family breakdown. When you do not get the substance that you're using to stimulate you, to make you think straight, that is a lie. It does not make you think straight. It makes you stop thinking. So now it breaks down the bonds, the relationships in the families. It wastes your time. You can't think straight. You stop performing in school. You stop performing your duties as a Muslim. You stop performing your ibadah because you're not thinking straight. And it's an increase in crime because some of these drugs are expensive. So now when you don't have an income and you need your drug, you need it. It reaches a point that you're becoming dependent on it. So when you need it, you look for a way of getting it. Now we've talked about the sexuality and drug abuse. How can we cope? What are the solutions? We can't just come here and talk about it and all this and that, but we need to know what's the way forward. How do we go about it? So there are three main coping mechanisms. And as Muslims, the first and foremost is the spiritual aspect of it, the spiritual strategies. And another thing that Islam is so beautiful, that we have all these coping mechanisms as part of our daily life. It is a lifestyle. The coping mechanisms are a lifestyle. Salah. Inna salata kana lil mu'minina kitaban mawquta. If you are steadfast on your salah, you want to chew, for example. That's mambo ya kawaida, sio? Mambo ya kawaida, kuchonga mambo ya kawaida. But these days, people are missing their salah. But if you are someone who is at least salah conscious, you will not chew a whole day. You'll say, no time ya salah, me I need to be sober for salah. So if you are someone who's steadfast on your salah, it will help you prevent such things. Wengine ikifika Juma, misha swali Juma bana jamaa tuanzeni. But I have to pray Asr. So you'll be conscious about that salah. It will keep you away from it. So salah is something kitaban mawquta. It will help manage your time, So it also helps manage some of these challenges that we face. Dua, as-silahul mu'min. Dua is a very big thing. Constant making dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide me, protect me from the fitan and from the challenges that we are facing. It really does help. We do not know the power of dua. I think Sheikh Mahmoud is here. This is not my forum. I'm not a sheikh. I'm not an alim. As much as I'm quoting, there are people here to guide us, whether my quotes fit in or not. Then there is dhikr. This is where again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala khalaqtul jinna wal insa illa liya'budun. So you can be walking, you can be operating. When I start my surgery, I say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and I'm praying salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even that shifa, even that patient, his recovery will be easy. If you're a driver, you start with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and you have adhkar all along the way. You'll be more concentrating on the road rather than doing other things. If you are a teacher and you start with adhkar and whatever you're doing, so dhikr also keeps you from getting into some of these habits and some of these immoralities that are there. So these are the three main things: salah, dua, and dhikr. Make them your anchors. Make them your shield to protect you from such evil and such exposures. Another thing, how do you to build yourself worth through the Quran and the Sunnah? The Prophet ﷺ's life is a whole lifestyle. He was sent to mankind as a complete example. His whole life, from his birth to his passing on, and after that, each and every aspect of our life has been outlined in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, up to the level no religion will teach you how to wash yourself in the washroom. Islam has taught us that. The Sunnah, the Quran, you have free time, open your Quran. These days we have mobile applications. You can open your Quran in the phone and read. You are waiting for something, you are in a queue somewhere, rather than scrolling through social media, open the Quran, recite something. These days we have ebooks, you have books online, you have literature, there's a lot of literature to read. Open something, read something, rather than wasting time on other unnecessary things. And the most important thing is good company. This is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. A person is upon the religion of his close friend. And by religion, it does not mean just the religion of practicing, but what they practice. Like we said from the hadith, if you sit with a blacksmith, you'll only smell of smoke. If you sit with someone who deals with perfume, you'll leave that place smelling good. So the company, like we said again, wow, tu achonga. I don't chew with them. It's them, they smoke. But that influence will catch up with you. You will be tempted to try. It is the peer pressure. You would want to fit in. Because now, jamaa itakuja itafika mahali, huyu bana, simchukueni bana, atatuharibia nahwa. Because now they will segregate you. They will tell you, huyu jamaa bana, mwacheni bana, he'll spoil for us our fun. He does not chew nini. Because you do not fit in with them, they will not want you. But instead of you trying to pull them to you, to come out of that bubble, they will pull you in and you would want to fit in with them. So it's better to avoid the company that will corrupt you. Even if even if you think that, no, I have a strong willpower. Yes, there is that, but you will give in. That is only human nature. The second thing in coping mechanisms is the practical strategies. What are the triggers? What causes people to go on social media? What causes people to use drugs? What causes people to go into pornography and premarital relationships? The triggers, the biggest trigger is idle time. And the second thing we mentioned is bad company. And, of course, some environmental triggers and in our phones, we have the applications. I'll keep mentioning this. Unsolicited stuff, unsolicited immorality is coming up. So the triggers, if you have idle time, look for something constructive, look for a hobby, do something. You know, today morning I was with my senior consultant. She's a urologist, she's a surgeon. But between the surgeries, she would finish the surgery. Me as a junior, I would clean up the patient, prepare them, get out. She would go to the changing room and she's there crocheting. This is a whole urologist. For the ladies, for the gents. She on her free time, she crochets. And today, this is about today morning, it was not planned. Another consultant comes in, an obstetrician, and she asked her, "Hey, Daktari, that's a very nice crocheting you're doing." Said, "Yeah, I want to reduce my screen time." This is today morning. That's a whole surgeon. She's a mother. She's got a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old in her house. She says, "I'm trying to reduce my screen time." That is her. She's not talked about her kids yet. And she said, also my kids also crochet. We are trying to learn a new language. There's Islamic studies. There's language. One of our speakers, I think Dr. Hassan Kinywa, will be coming. He owns an institute of foreign languages. This same surgeon said that she was trying to learn the Mandarin language. But she couldn't cope. It's a difficult language, Mandarin. Why? Just to avoid myself and my kids from social media. She was trying to learn a new language. She's doing crocheting. So yes, there are hobbies that we can do. It does not mean that you need to go out and do something. No, crocheting is something very nice. And crocheting, it can be a hobby and it can be a side hustle. It can help you earn a little income. A lot of people are doing that. For the guys, you can have a hobby. Do gardening. Gardening is not for the ladies. I have a small bulk. I have some neighbors here. I have two guys who are my neighbors. So I have a small garden in my balcony. I don't have a big house. I don't own a plot or something. Just pots. And sometimes there was a time I grew chilies in my house, capsicum, dania, small things, just in a garden. Keep yourself busy. I own aquariums, by the way. I had 11 aquariums in my house. The biggest is 7 foot. It started off as a small hobby, turned into an addiction, but a good addiction. So when I get money, I want to buy fish. I want to buy accessories for my fish. When my nephew was growing, when he went to high school, he's in Mombasa. I'm a proud alumni of Sheikh Khalifa. I'm sure there is that thing about schools. I don't know if guys still excited about saying which school you come from. So I can say yes, I'm from Sheikh Khalifa. So yeah, my nephew was also in Sheikh Khalifa, and when he was going to Form 1, Form 2, being in the Mombasa environment, my sister is like, Mazé, this guy, he'll got wrong friends. So I told him, no, wrong friends is when he's idle. He doesn't have drugs, high school people are using drugs and all that. So I told her, no, he will only do that if he has free time and free money. Get him an aquarium and tell him, you want to buy fish, save up. You want to buy something for your aquarium, save up. And that's what they did. They got him an aquarium, and then that aquarium was his responsibility. So he would be busy, he would be excited about buying new fish and stuff. So get a hobby, get something to keep you occupied. Avoid bad company. This is something that we will repeat all over and over again. Avoid certain applications. I know some of them are inevitable, but they are the basics, communication applications. We do not need to be on, it has been normalized so much that everybody thinks that if I'm not on Instagram, if I'm not on Snapchat, if I'm not on Facebook, Twitter, X, which one? TikTok, yeah, TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. Yeah, so yeah, those apps. So someone, if I'm not on those apps, wewe uko nyuma. Hey, mazee wewe uko nyuma. You're not caught up with the world. No, let the world catch up with you. A true believer is someone who does not chase the world chases him. So the other thing, the strategies. So now you've gotten yourself into a habit. Okay, yes, I'm into pornography. I'm having a problem. I can't stop scrolling. I'm into social media. I'm into, I've learned this habit. I'm into vaping. I'm into this. I'm into that. It's never late. It's never late. It's only late when you don't want to get out of it. So the thing is, you seek counseling. A rehabilitation center, a rehab does not only mean a rehab. We have some social taboo. Jamaa ampelekwa rehab. Rehab is not a place where mental people go. Rehab is somewhere you get help from. And a rehab is not necessarily a place where you have this picture, rehab nimewekwa kwa room, haina TV, haina wifi, nimepokonywa simu, I can't access this. No, a rehab is just the environment you can rehabilitate yourself, you can rehabilitate with a friend. Just open up, talk. The brother behind there mentioned, don't bottle up your feelings. Have someone to talk to. If you're not close to your father, if you're not close to your mother, if you don't have a sibling, an older sibling that you're closer to, ideally those are the 4 people you should be close to. Anyone else who is not part of those, and you're trying to open up to them, is dangerous. Because sometimes they can use that to manipulate you and take advantage. So you should be careful of whom you open up to. There are counselors, there are the mashayikh here, they're willing to listen to us at any time. Their doors are open, mashallah. You can open, and no one will judge you. When you're trying to genuinely seek help out of any habit, no one will judge you. So try and get help before it's too late. And then you develop halal alternatives, like we said. There are there's volunteering, there's entrepreneurship, there's creative arts. Currently, for those people who know me, Mr. Brother Faisal was commenting on how I look now and how I looked a few years ago when we were sitting in the COVID committee. I picked up a new habit because I noticed that, number one, I've become sedentary. And being sedentary, kukaa nyumbani, my mind is idle. When I'm idle, I pick my phone, I'm on social media, or I'm doing just unnecessary things. So I picked up a habit. I started running, sports. So I started running. And I've reached a point that if I don't run, like in 2 days, the third day I feel like something is missing out of my body. And I'm not spending anything on running. I'm not wasting anybody's time. I'm not intervening anybody's space. I just put on my shoes, I put on my track, and I go out, I run. So some of these habits help you. The halal alternatives, they help you get out of some of these habits. There is something, volunteering. Volunteering, there are a lot of forums where you can volunteer. There are forums like this. There are medical camps that happen. There are organizations that have, a lot of activities that they're doing. You can go and volunteer. If you have an interest, if you're a high school student, you want to do medicine, look for someone, look for medical camps, go volunteer. You want to go get into IT, look for a company that is IT based or anything, go and volunteer with them. Look for something to keep you busy. It keeps your mind, your body, and your soul busy. Entrepreneurship. Look for something, the money you get, instead of using it on other things, buy something small, come with it, put a little profit margin and sell. I don't want to brag, I don't want to feel like I'm bragging, but looking at sports, I play football and I run. Volunteering, since I was an undergraduate medical student, I volunteer for medical camps until now. Paka people ask me, hey, Daktari, you're going for medical camp, are they paying? I tell them no. They're not paying. This thing gives me pleasure. And wallahi, whenever I attend a medical camp, I feel like a child at a candy shop. You know, the pleasure that I get from serving people it really feels nice. So volunteering, there are a lot of things you can volunteer. Creative arts, you can just sit down, draw something. There is DIY, a lot of DIY things you can do at home. Make something small, a project or something, crafts. There are a lot of things that people can do, and it's all online. In that same social media we waste time in, there are some things that you can learn, pick up good habits from that, but don't make it now. It shouldn't be a reason. Manze, mimi niko social media. I'm trying to pick up a new habit. But that should not make you be on that social media platform and waste time on it. Pick up a habit, refer to it, go learn something, try something new, pick up and try, keeping yourself busy. The third thing now, this comes to all of us, the community action, the organizers of this forum. Again, the Mashaikh, this falls to us. The peer mentorship, this is a very good forum, a mentorship program whereby we discuss and learn and teach each other and guide one another. Collective responsibility at the family level, we've mentioned, there is that family gap between the parents and the child. We want to, the parents want to, they want to dictate how the family should be. No, it is more of a partnership, more of an understanding, more of what needs to be. The parent should come down to the level of the children and see. It's the massages, the NGOs, it is a role played by everyone. So I'm running out of time. Some of us, when we get a mic, we do not want to leave it. So yeah, let's wind up. There's that question you can write down, and if there is time, we can discuss it later. What alternatives can Muslim youth create for entertainment and stress management instead of drugs and immorality? There's a question, just ask yourself, and maybe we can have a discussion around it, and maybe in the next forums, and have an open forum, a Q&A something. I still have like 2 more slides. I won't take much of the time. We've talked about most of the things. So what are some of the lessons from the lives of the pious predecessors that have passed? Who knows the story of Sayyidina Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu anhu? Anyone here knows the story of Sayyidina Mus'ab bin Umair? He's one of the very famous youth of Islam. Anyone knows the story of Mus'ab bin Umair? You can mention to us the story. Sheikh Mahmoud is here. Sheikh Mahmoud is a very good orator. He's a very good orator. He's got very good interpersonal skills, mashallah. And he's a very good, make sure that before the forum ends, he recites one nasheed for you guys. Huh? He's got a very good voice. So maybe he can give us a brief, just a 2-minute brief story of Sayyidina Mus'ab bin Umair. I know I'm not a scholar, so I wouldn't want to give the story. Maybe I'll give you, I'll add my own things. So he can give us a story of Sayyidina Mus'ab bin Umair at the end of this lecture. In summary, he was one of the most handsome youth of his time. Alcohol, all the girls were looking forward to him. He used to like to dress nicely. Akitoka nje mazee lazima awe on point. He wanted to smell nice. He used to wear the most expensive perfume in Arabia. He used to wear akivaa nguo leo, kesho he does not repeat that cloth. He will tell us the story. I'm looking forward to that narration. So he left everything. He left all that luxury. He wouldn't eat one thing at him. But a very, very good lunch, mashallah. He would have a variety of a whole table of different types of foods, and everyone would be after him. It was said that when Mus'ab bin Umair passed from the alleys of Makkah, people would know Mus'ab bin Umair passed here yesterday because of his perfume. And not at Pitapa Sa'i, Mus'ab bin Umair alipita hapa jana. That perfume of his would it is good to look good. Yes, Islam tells you, you have to look good. That is Islam. If you do not look good, you're not a proper Muslim. So we'll be told the story of Sayyidina Mus'ab bin Umair by Sheikh Mahmoud. Asma bint Abu Bakr radhiallahu anha. She was a youth at the time of Hijrah. What lessons do we learn from her life? During the time of Hijrah, the second most difficult time during the Prophet's life, was when he was migrating. He had to leave his beloved land of Mecca to go to Medina. And who helped him on the road? Asma bint Abu Bakr. She was there carrying food secretly at night in a state of pregnancy. That is also a story to look into, the story of Sayyidatna Asma bint Abu Bakr. Because of interest of time, I will not dwell into it, but you can go and read the stories at your own free time. Imam al-Nawawi, radallahu anhu. Imam al-Nawawi is known to become a scholar at a very young age. He was one of the youngest scholars, and until today, Arba'in al-Nawawi, we know some of the books of hadith and some of these books the scholars have referred to. He became a scholar at a very young age. He dedicated all his youth to knowledge and avoiding distraction. But he was also known he was also a businessman. You look at Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Abu Hanifa is an imam of his time. Until Qiyamah he will be remembered. But he was one of the greatest businessmen of his time. So the lessons we learned from some of these stories, great leaders were once young men, ladies and gentlemen like yourself. But they faced those challenges. They overcame those challenges and they became who they are. And they will be remembered till the day of Qiyamah. Does not any one of you in this room want to be known and want to, what's your name? Mustafa. You don't want in 10 years someone will say Mustafa and you'll be known. Mustafa did this and that. Don't you want that to happen? So this is the time. All these, Mus'ab bin Umair was a youth like you. Asma binti Abu Bakr was a lady like yourselves. Imam al-Nawawi, he remembered until the day of Qiyamah. He was youth like us. How did they achieve that? If they could achieve it, we can also achieve it. It is simple. It is just management of your time and the right guidance. Lastly, my closing remarks. I saw this in the program as one of the closing remarks of the program. It says that خير الناس أنفعهم للناس. The best of people are those who are the most beneficial to others. You, us, we are the generation of change, the generation of peace, the generation of future. The future is in our hands. So if we purify our hearts, if we guard our desires, and we stay away from harmful addictions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide us and He will make us the leaders of tomorrow. That is my closing remark. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I took up a lot of your time. This was supposed to be an interactive. We've left out a question, but if there is time, we can discuss that. Shukran. Jazakallah khair.